You see, money is a strange ghost. It doesn't exist, and yet it rules your life. It has no scent, no taste, no weight, and yet the world bends to its will. We chase it, fear it, pray for it, and measure our worth by how much of it we possess, as though the universe itself keeps score in dollar bills. But here's the paradox. The money that you think you earn, that you think is real, is made of nothing but promises. Promises written by institutions that exist only because you believe in them. The world you inhabit is built upon confidence, not gold, not land, not labour, but confidence. And confidence, my friend, is the most fragile thing in the cosmos. It vanishes the moment you look at it too closely. Now, consider the idea of wealth. What is it? If tomorrow all the numbers in all the computers were erased, if the digital ledgers that hold your savings vanished into mist, would the trees stop growing? Would the oceans dry? Would you be any less alive? You see, wealth has never truly been about possession. It is about participation, about flow. When a river flows, it nourishes the land. But when we dam it up, hoard it, call it mine, the water stagnates and rots, and so does the soul of the one who keeps it. The great joke of modern civilization is that we have mistaken symbols for substance. We print paper and call it power. We create debt and call it growth. We inflate numbers and call it prosperity. But if you zoom out far enough, you'll see it's the same ancient dance. The illusion of control, performed by frightened monkeys on a small blue rock, spinning endlessly in space. The banks do not create money. They create belief. A belief that tomorrow will exist, that the debt can be paid, that the game can continue one more round. And so long as everyone plays along, the dream persists. But when someone wakes up, when a few begin to ask, "Wait, what is this all for?" the whole system trembles. It's rather like a theatre play. Everyone has agreed to pretend that these tokens, these ledgers, these screens are your reality. And yet, behind the curtain, nothing is actually there. If you think that's madness, you're right. But it's divine madness, the kind that mirrors the very structure of life itself. For life, too, is a kind of dream. You are born into a body, given a name, told what to want, what to fear, and what to strive for. You play your part diligently, and in the end, curtain. The lights go out. No refund. No encore. And the audience applauds. So when I speak of the illusion of wealth, I don't mean merely the banks or the politicians. I mean you. The illusion that your security lies in possession rather than participation, in accumulation rather than awareness. True wealth is not in what you have, but in your capacity to let it move through you, like breath. When you inhale, you do not cling. We to the air, you let it go, or you die. And so with money, with time, with love, with life itself. We must understand the peculiar game called debt, because debt is not a sin, nor is it a mistake. It's a spell. You see, in ancient times, when people exchanged goods, the trade was direct. I give you a fish, you give me a loaf of bread. Simple, balanced, present. But the human mind, restless, anxious, dreaming of tomorrow, invented credit. And with credit came time. We said, "I'll pay you later." A simple phrase, yet it created an invisible tether between souls. From that moment on, the future became mortgaged, and humanity fell in love with promises. What we call the economy is simply the sum of these promises. A vast network of later. You owe the bank owes the government owes the people, and the people owe their lives to the clock. Everyone running in circles, each chasing the other's shadow, hoping to pay a debt that can never truly be paid, because the debt is not financial. It is psychological. It is the debt of feeling incomplete. We have been taught, you see, to believe that fulfillment lies somewhere ahead, in the next paycheck, the next home, the next market rally, the next incarnation of ourselves. So long as we keep running, the system thrives. But if we were ever to stop, to rest, to see the absurdity of the chase, the whole illusion would crumble like mist in sunlight. The world runs not on money, but on fear of not having enough. Fear is the true currency. Fear of being irrelevant, fear of being left behind, fear of being poor. It is fear that drives you to trade the living present for the ghost of security. And the institutions, those magnificent temples of marble and glass, have learned to harvest this fear like wheat. They feed you numbers, interest rates, news of growth, of inflation, of crisis. They tell you what to panic about and what to hope for, and so the wheel spins on, greased by anxiety. But step back and watch the movement. Observe without judgment, as if watching the tide. The rich grow richer, not because they conspire against you, but because they play a different game. They understand that money, like the ocean, flows toward those who know how to ride its currents, not those who try to dam it. When you hoard, you drown. When you flow, you float. The tragedy is not that the system is rigged. The tragedy is that you believe you are separate from it. You curse the economy as though it were some monster outside your window, rather than a mirror of your own inner craving for permanence. When you work for a wage, you sell your time. But have you noticed? Time itself cannot be owned. It moves through your fingers like water. You may count it, divide it, schedule it, but you can never truly keep it. And yet, society has built an empire on this delusion. We trade moments of being for symbols of having. We sell our breath to buy another breath later, as though life were a savings account. What would happen if, just for a moment, you stopped running? If you refused to measure your worth by your productivity, or your peace by your possessions? If you simply sat and listened to the hum beneath it all? You would discover something both terrifying and liberating, that there was never anything to gain or lose in the first place. That existence itself, the sheer miracle of being conscious, breathing, perceiving, is wealth beyond measure. But you cannot grasp it with the same hands that grasp for money. You must let go. Letting go is not losing, it is seeing. Seeing that the dance of gain and loss, rich and poor, boom and bust, is the very rhythm of life. It rises, it falls, it breathes in, it breathes out. When you stop fighting the tide, you begin to float in its grace. You say the Federal Reserve printed $4.5 trillion and you are 30% poorer. But what if, in a deeper sense, you were never richer to begin with? What if the true wealth that sustains you, the love in your heart, the curiosity in your mind, the laughter of your friends, was untouched by inflation? You see, life doesn't devalue itself. Only our stories about it do. The price of bread may rise, the digits may inflate, but the bread still nourishes, the sun still shines, the rain still falls. And if you can rediscover that immediacy, the wealth of what is rather than what should be, you will find that no bank can foreclose upon your soul. The real awakening comes when you see that the entire game of gain and loss is happening within you, a divine illusion, a cosmic theatre where you've forgotten you are both actor and audience. The system, corrupt though it may seem, is not separate from nature. It is nature dreaming itself as economics. It is the law of the jungle, written in spreadsheets, the eternal hunger of life to consume itself and be reborn. And when you awaken to this, you stop judging it. You start dancing with it, because ultimately you are not the victim of inflation. You are inflation itself. You are the rising and the falling, the expansion and contraction of consciousness. You are the wave and the ocean. You see, awakening is not about overthrowing the system, or hoarding gold, or finding a loophole in the machinery of society. It is about realizing that the entire thing, the markets, the currencies, the politics, the dreams of power, are made of the same substance as a rainbow. Beautiful, fleeting, untouchable. You can't grasp it because the moment you reach for it, it dissolves into light. And so it is with control. The more tightly you grip the world, the faster it slips away. The more you try to secure your future, the more you lose the only thing that's truly yours, the present. We live in a culture obsessed with control, over time, over money, over death. But what is control, really? It's the illusion that you can push the river, that you can stop the seasons or freeze the tide. The art of living, you see, is not about damming the flow. It's about learning to move with it, to surf the uncertainty, to laugh at the absurdity of believing you could ever possess what was never yours to begin with. When you truly see this, you begin to relax, not in laziness, but in trust. A deep trust that life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. You are not a cog in the machine. You are the awareness that gives the machine its meaning. This is what I call the cosmic joke. Because you've been chasing wealth, meaning and security as if they were hidden treasures buried somewhere in time. And all along, you were sitting on the treasure chest. The mind loves to imagine itself as poor. It creates scarcity so it can chase abundance. It invents problems so it can feel the thrill of solving them. But existence itself, this vast, shimmering dance of energy and form, has never been poor, never been lacking, never been in debt. The stars burn without asking for interest. The ocean waves crash without counting their cost. The trees breathe, the earth turns, the rain falls, and none of it requires a transaction. You see, the universe has no budget, only humans do, and we made ours up. This doesn't mean you should abandon society or stop paying your bills. It means you stop believing that these games are ultimate. You can play them, you can even play them well, but you no longer confuse the game for life itself. You can move through the marketplace like a dancer moves across a stage, fully involved, yet inwardly free. Because freedom doesn't mean running away from the world. It means moving through it without being owned by it. When you understand this, even money becomes sacred again. Not as an idol, but as a symbol, a current. That's why we call it currency. It flows, it connects. It's not meant to be imprisoned in vaults, or hoarded in fear, or worshipped as a saviour. It's meant to circulate, like blood through the body, like breath through the lungs. And so long as you understand that, you are already wealthier than any banker. But of course, the ego doesn't like this truth. It wants to feel in control, to measure and accumulate. It wants to win. It wants to be the hero of the story. And yet, my dear friend, you were never meant to be the hero. You were meant to be the story itself, the storyteller, the listener, the silence between the words. Let us imagine for a moment that you could see your life as a film projected on the great screen of eternity. You'd laugh, wouldn't you, at how seriously you took it all. The debts, the deadlines, the dramas. You'd see how every loss made space for something you couldn't have, imagined. You'd see that what you called failure was merely the turning of a page, and in that laughter you'd be free. Because the secret is this: freedom is not the opposite of control. Freedom is seeing that control was never necessary. The grass doesn't control its growth. The heart doesn't control its beating. The planets don't control their orbits. They simply are. And when you realize that you too are part of this vast, self-moving dance, the need to dominate, to hoard, to secure begins to fall away like autumn leaves. You don't have to let go. It lets go of you. That's the awakening. Not an achievement, but a realization of what's always been true. You might say, but Alan, if I stop trying to control, won't everything fall apart? And I would say, everything is falling apart all the time. That's what keeps it alive. If the waves stopped crashing, the sea would die. If your breath stopped flowing, you would too. Change is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the movement that keeps the eternal from becoming stale. And so the wise person learns to participate in this grand dissolution, consciously, gracefully, joyfully. They spend when it's time to spend. They save when it's time to save. They live when it's time to live. And they die when it's time to die, without resistance, without complaint, without illusion, because death too is a kind of economic truth. It clears the ledger of identity. It returns everything borrowed, the body, the thoughts, the time, back to the great treasury of being. You came into this world with nothing, and you will leave it the same way. But what a magnificent transaction it is in between. You are the breath that life borrows for a little while, and then releases again into silence. So perhaps the real crime is not that the Fed printed 4.5 trillion. The real crime is that we forgot how to marvel at what's already free. The air, the sunlight, the beating of the heart, the miracle of consciousness itself. That's the inflation that matters, not of currency, but of illusion. When our desires expand faster than our awareness, the soul becomes poor. When awareness expands faster than desire, the soul becomes rich. And in that quiet wealth, beyond banks, beyond nations, beyond the myths of ownership, you rediscover what it truly means to live, to breathe without debt, to love without cost, to die without fear. Now imagine just for a moment that the world went silent. No tick of clocks, no hum of machines, no headlines screaming about markets, rates or crises. Only the wind and the pulse of your own heart. That heartbeat, steady, rhythmic, unpaid, is the true economy. It gives and takes with perfect balance. Each beat a transaction of life and death, expansion and contraction, give and receive, and you don't control it. It just happens, freely, effortlessly. You see, this is what I mean when I say that the universe breathes you. You are not managing existence. Existence is happening through you. You are the current, not the conductor. And when you see this, the fear that built the house of illusion begins to crumble. All this noise about inflation, about scarcity, about the future, it is the same ancient story of the ego trying to outwit impermanence, trying to freeze time, trying to buy eternity with temporary things. But what if eternity was never in the future? What if eternity is what you're breathing now, this moment, here, before thought divides it into before and after? You see, eternity is not endless time. It is timelessness. The still centre of the wheel around which the world spins. The silence between the notes that makes the music. The emptiness of the bowl that gives it purpose. And yet we've forgotten how to see it. We've built a civilization upon distraction, endless noise to drown out the quiet truth that we are enough. We've inflated the outer world to escape the inner one. We've filled the vaults, but emptied the heart. It's quite an irony, isn't it? That in our quest to secure life, we have forgotten how to live it. We trade presence for possession, breath for balance sheets, wonder for numbers on a screen. But all along, what we call value was never out there. It was in the seeing, in the act of being conscious at all. What is the worth of sunlight on your skin? The worth of a child's laughter, or a tear that falls freely? What is the price of awe when you look up at the night sky and realize those distant stars are made of the same fire that burns behind your eyes? You cannot quantify that. You cannot monetize being, and that's precisely why it's sacred. The illusion of wealth ends the moment you stop counting. Because to measure something is to separate yourself from it. And separation is the true poverty of our age. We are not suffering from lack of money. We are suffering from lack of intimacy with life. We've built walls of calculation between ourselves and the miraculous flow that sustains us. We've forgotten that to live is to give yourself away, moment by moment, like the ocean gives itself to the shore. So long as you're trying to hold, to own, to keep, you remain trapped in the mathematics of fear. But when you begin to trust the rhythm, when you see that loss is merely transformation, that spending is another word for sharing, that death is only the other face of birth, you awaken from the game entirely. And then the great cosmic humour dawns on you. You laugh, not in cynicism, but in freedom, because you see that life has always been playing with itself, dressing up as banks and governments, crises and recoveries, credit and collapse, only to remind itself that none of it was ever real. The real wealth was the play itself, the great masquerade of being. And when you laugh, truly laugh, the whole weight of the world falls from your shoulders. You no longer chase permanence. You dance with change. You no longer guard what you have. You celebrate what you are. You become like a musician who no longer fears the end of the song. Because what makes music beautiful is not that it lasts forever, but that it ends. And in its ending, it fulfills its purpose, to make the silence more alive than before. So it is with life. So it is with money. So it is with you. All these symbols, wealth, debt, control, are waves upon the ocean of consciousness. They rise, they fall, they shimmer for a moment, and then they disappear. But the ocean remains, and you are that ocean. When you know this, not as an idea but as a direct experience, something extraordinary happens. You stop being afraid, you stop needing guarantees, you begin to trust the flow so deeply that even loss becomes a kind of beauty. Because what can be taken from you when you were never separate to begin with? What can you lose when everything you ever loved was simply life loving itself through you? The paradox is that when you stop grasping for permanence, everything becomes eternal. When you stop demanding certainty, you find peace. When you stop trying to be rich, you realize you already are. So perhaps this is the true meaning of awakening in an age of illusion. To see that even the madness of markets and the greed of men are waves in the same sea, and that you, dear listener, are not drowning in it. You are it. And once you know that, you can live freely in the world of form, even while your heart rests in the formless. You can work and spend and save and play without being deceived by the symbols. You can walk through the market with your soul untouched, because you see the game for what it is, a divine comedy, an elaborate performance of energy pretending to be serious. When you finally laugh, really laugh, at the absurdity of it all, you are no longer a victim. You are no longer even a participant. You are the awareness in which the entire play unfolds, and then the last illusion falls away. Not because you destroyed it, but because you loved it completely. Because only when you love the dream do you wake up smiling. So let this be your meditation. Every dollar, every breath, every heartbeat. A reminder that the universe is borrowing itself for a while, playing with shape and sound. And when the game is done, when the credits roll and you dissolve back into the great silence, you'll realize you never lost a thing. You were the wealth. You were the world. You were the dance all along.